Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Chris here from Fake Sports News, Access Rotation, however the flip you know me. And today I'm going to be bringing you guys, as you can see, the Major 3 bracket about 15 hours before the start time of actual Major 3. I was just waiting for some announcements from the teams. There were definitely some interesting things on the TL today. So one of the things that I was waiting for was just Beans. We weren't really sure if he was going to be able to play today because the rotation he tweeted out that Beans was having, I guess, some visa issues. So it was unclear if they're going to have to pick up a player. And that's why I waited so long to record this video. I hope that makes sense to you guys. So, yeah, that's it. So, getting into the tournament, we kick things off with the LA Thieves, the team that I have famously said is a lock for this tournament, going up against Carolina Royal Ravens. And I have the LA Thieves as a clear lock for this tournament, even though the Carolina Royal Ravens have a new look player, of course, that being Dylan Rex. I think that the LA Thieves, they are just such a polished team at this point in the year. Maybe the honeymoon cheese comes through again and the 1 seed falls to the 8 seed somehow. But yeah, I don't see that happening 3 events in a row. So that's why I have the LA Thieves taking this one with a 3-2 victory. I think that with a few more days of practice, the Carolina Royal Ravens will not look as bad as they did on Sunday in their series where they played online. Also, that team has just been getting absolutely bodied online. So I expect them to have a much better performance on LAN, where all 3 of those players, except for Gwyn, have been pretty consistent this year. Of course, Rex and Challengers. So not sure what to expect against pros, but not necessarily expecting a dub against this LA Thieves team. So in our next series, we have a rematch of our Major 2 Grand Final with the Vancouver Surge taking on Atlanta Faze. And even though a lot of people have lost faith in Faze for some reason because of the online stuff, I'm just like, Waze, Taze, Lays, Haze, don't matter. Faze and Foe. So we're taking Faze and 4 here. And then in the next series, we have the hosts, the Miami Heretics, taking on the Toronto Ultra. And this is going to be an interesting one. Miami has looked really, really good online. These guys just played last week, and Ultra absolutely bodied them on LAN at their home major. I know I shouldn't, but majors are always crazy, and there's always an upset. So I'm going to ride with the Miami Heretics here, guys. I think the Toronto Ultra are the better team, but majors are always crazy, and there's always one upset on Friday. So I think it's going to be that one. Now, another match that has upset written all over it is the Boston Breach versus Optic Texas series. Skies, he's been playing inconsistently, consistently. 2-2. Do we get Breach versus Faze in a somewhat disappointing but realistic series, or do we get Optic versus Faze in the series that the community wants to see and the viewership needs so dearly, but is not really that realistic at the given moment? I think I'm going to go with the upset here in the eyes of a lot of people. Boston Breach, I like what I've seen from them. I feel like they are definitely the better team between these two. I mean, obviously they're the higher seeded team between these two, but I do feel like they are the better team between these two. So that's why I have them making it through with a 3-2. I know that rhymed, but that was not intentional. So yeah, I think Boston, the last event they took down the LA Thieves. This is not that crazy of a shout to think that they will take down an Optic team that is definitely not the same one we saw at the last event, right? So Boston stuck together since EWC of last year. So along with Faze, they are one of our longest tenure teams in the league. I think the only other team that stuck as long as Faze. So yeah, I like this Boston Breach team. I think they've only gotten better. I think that on LAN they will look great. Honestly, they've been phenomenal on LAN this year against top tier teams in round 1. So why not, right? So that means that we would move into the elimination bracket to start off Friday's matches. And to start off Friday's matches, we would have the Vancouver Surge taking on the C9 New York boys. And it's unfortunate that they're starting in the losers bracket and they have to play either Faze or the Vancouver Surge. So whoever falls to face the C9 New York boys, I think they beat them in a game 5. C9 is a very solid team, and this will likely be their lone showing on the weekend. So I expect them to take it to game 5, just out of respect. In our next series, we have the Vegas Falcons taking on Optic, Texas. And on land, I'll be honest with you guys, I think this Vegas team is going to be absolutely diffy. So I think they take it in a game 5. I think if Pred sees Optic or Boston, he's going to be screaming, "Barbecue chicken!" And he's going to absolutely fry whoever he sees. So that was the worst Australian accent of all time. But just understand the passion that will be coming through Pred's comms. And that's all you need to understand from that statement. So, looking at our next matchup, another color coded one. We have 2 purple teams going head to head. Who will be the supreme purple team? I think it'll be the Toronto Ultra, and I think they get it done in a 3-2. I think LAG, I think they'll look decent on land. Johnny has been playing really well. The Johnny and Kismet duo can overperform and definitely win them a couple of hard points, maybe a control. So that's why I think it's a 3-2. Last matchup of the early slated Friday matches before we get to our final match of elimination matches, and the first of elimination round 2 will be Carolina Royal Ravens taking on Kenny and the Minnesota Rokkr. This is going to be a really hard one to call just because Rokkr is 1-4, but they've had 4 game 5 round 11s. Was their last series a game 5? I don't think it was. Let's look. Against Heretics? I don't think it was. It was a 3-1. So the Heretics series was their only series to not go to game 5 round 11. This Rokkr team is way better than most people want to give them credit for. They're flying under the radar, making the subtle improvements, and I've liked what I've seen from them, even though they had a pretty difficult schedule, and all the 50-50s pretty much went everybody else's way. I think they're going to clean things up. I think they're going to look a lot better, and I think they will at least beat a Royal Ravens team that is still trying to figure out with a new player and still in kind of a vulnerable, place in game modes like S&D and Control, where you consistently need that teamwork, cohesion, and just a little bit more experience. So that's why I like the Minnesota Rokkr, even though they are a new team with a similar timeline. I just think that they are a little bit more established as a team, and they're a little bit further down the same timeline. So that's why I prefer them in this matchup. Now, in our last match of Friday, we have the Vegas Falcons taking on the Vancouver Surge. I think this is going to be a banger. I think Vegas is going to be absolutely godlike on land. And you know what? They're playing for champs. I'm quite tempted to say that they upset, but Priest and RCs are on this team, guys. I'm not going to just be delusional, even though you guys know I was a big Vegas fan last year. I actually, funny enough, I own more Vegas merch than Faze merch. So there's that. Yeah, I really love supporting that Vegas team, but this ain't that Vegas team. So I'm going to say Vancouver Surge in 5, Ofo in 5. And yeah, we're going to kick things off with our Saturday matches where we will stay in elimination round 2, kicking things off with the new look Rokkr with Kenny taking on the Toronto Ultra. And I think Toronto's just a better team here. I think Rokkr will push them probably to a game 5 round 11. But yeah, I think Rokkr, I mean, they're a good team, but I think Ultra, they are just a more cohesive unit. We've seen better looks from them this season, and I think they'll be on one. And if it's Miami that falls through to the losers bracket, I expect the same thing from them. I like what I've seen from both teams. And no matter who wins that matchup on, Thursday, I think that whoever wins that takes the first matchup Saturday and losers. Now, that means that our second matchup will be in winners round 2, and we will have Atlanta Faze taking on Boston Breach. This matchup happens every year in winners bracket at some point. It's usually 1 versus 8, but I think Faze will split the difference and get it done in 4. You see what I did there? 1 versus 8, split the difference, get it done in 4. Yeah. So looking at the next one, we have the LA Thieves taking on the Miami Heretics, the hosts of this event. I think that even though Miami is much improved, I think LA Thieves is the better team between these two. I think it'll be a very close one. I think Miami with Super, they corrected the mistake of just having 2 Slayers on the map. Now they have 2 Slayers and 1 support player who can provide consistent slaying and fill the gaps. So I really like this Miami team, but I do think LA Thieves is a more established and a better team overall. So that's why I have them winning in game 5. Now, our next series would be elimination round 3 at 6 p.m., which would be the Boston Breach versus Toronto Ultra, if all things pan out according to my bracket with the upsets and things. So I think the Ultra get it done here pretty decisively. I'm going to say 3-1 just because I feel like Boston could take a respawn, but on land on Saturday, I feel like Ultra will be locked in. And after that series against Minnesota, I feel like they will be kind of, locked in. So looking at our last series of Saturday, we would have the Miami Heretics, our hosts, taking on the Vancouver Surge. And honestly, Vancouver's online issues are not going to deter me from backing them like consistently. I still feel like when they get to LAN and all the players are not under the shackles of the online cheese, I feel like they're going to play a lot better. Same thing for the Toronto Ultra. They've been playing kind of handicapped with like the trash connection issues we've been having in the game. So, yeah, I think when they get to LAN, I feel like they're just going to absolutely be on a different level. And I think they're going to fry. Let's move on over in the bracket and let's get into Championship Sunday, my friends. So we kick things off with the Toronto Ultra taking on the Vancouver Surge. And I think that the best team in Canada, is Neptune and O4 and the Vancouver Surge. Sorry, Toronto Ultra fans. I do favor the Vancouver Surge at this point in the year. On the top half of the bracket, winners finals, I think, of course, like everyone else, I think history repeats itself. I think Atlanta Faze get it done 3-2. I think Dealership will be a surprising addition to their map pool this weekend. I think all the losses that they took on it really set them up nicely because towards the end of the stage, they looked pretty good on that map. And you know how Faze is. These guys always practice their weak maps during the qualifier stage because they always have champs secured by Major too. So, by the back half of the year, they just troll and try to improve their weak maps, and that's what we've been seeing a lot of. So I think when we get to the tournament, it'll be more of the same. They've been banking on that at every tournament since Major 1, just improving the weak maps online, luring these teams into a false sense of security by like having a mid stage and then destroying everybody on land. So I don't see that way. I don't see why that wouldn't continue, honestly. So, with that in mind, I think the elimination finals will be another rematch between the LA Thieves and the Vancouver Surge. And unlike the last event, where the LA Thieves, of course, fell to the Toronto Ultra in elimination round 4, getting a top 4 placing, I think the LA Thieves get back to the grand finals again this time in place of the Vancouver Surge. But this time, I think they get it done with a 3-1. I think after that loss to FaZe on Sunday, they will be motivated, they'll be hungry, and I think they'll come into that Vancouver Surge series very hot. So in the grand finals of this weekend, I think that FaZe take on the LA Thieves again. I think the LA Thieves will look very, very good in this series. I think they probably push it to 7, but I think FaZe get it done probably on dealership if I had to guess. Or if it's Destiny, then we will see a protocol as no, I'm kidding. But yeah, I think it'll probably be dealership game 7, and I think that's how FaZe get it done. Or maybe it'll be a rewind. Who knows? I mean, LA Thieves were the best rewind team to start out the year. It'd be kind of interesting if the rewind goes the way of FaZe for them to go back to back to back to back and win 4 straight events, which would be unprecedented territory for the CDL. We have never had a team do that. So hopefully my boys can get it done. Atlanta has never had a team that's this good. Apart from the Braves a couple times. Shout out to Hank Aaron, my GOAT. And yeah, man, I'm just loving it. As a kid that grew up in Atlanta, our sports always. So this is really nice, man. We lost the Thrashers when I was a kid. The Braves were pretty mid. Yeah, the Hawks. I mean, we're not even going to talk about how much the Hawks were owned by LeBron throughout my childhood. So yeah, man, this is all I got. Growing up in Atlanta, you know, there wasn't a lot to look forward to sports wise. So thankfully we got Faze. We had to sacrifice all the 28-3, right? Like, yeah. So Bulldogs and Faze, that's all I got. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. I think that's how Atlanta Faze lock it in and get it done. I think that's how I lock my bracket in and get it done. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you have a great morning, noon, or night wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. Hope you guys enjoy the major. Don't forget to come to the watch party, ladies and gentlemen. I will be watching the matches this weekend. If there is a match here, then I will be watching it on my channels down below in the description if you want to catch me for any of the action. And that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys have a great morning, noon, or night, like I said before, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Once again, this is Chris from Fake Sports News, Axis Rotation, however the flip you know me on these interwebs, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.